Hi there, it's Matt here, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're venturing into an exciting realm of human health that goes far beyond sleep into general topics of the brain. And I'm trying this because many listeners have asked me to cover more brain science topics on the podcast. And since I absolutely love all things brain, not just sleep, I wanted to broaden the podcast to reflect that and show just how utterly incredible the human brain is. Today, we're going to be diving into the real science of something called 40 Hz stimulation therapy. In this episode, we'll dive deep into what happens when you expose the human brain to a very specific rhythm, 40 cycles per second, known as the gamma frequency. We'll talk about how flickering lights and pulsing sounds at 40 Hz might enhance cognition and memory, potentially fight Alzheimer's disease, improve sleep quality, regulate mood, and even influence energy levels. And as always, we'll stay grounded in the science, focusing only on peer-reviewed research, especially human studies. I'll try to spare you the social media hype and the marketing, and just focus on the scientific data. Before we dive in, let's set the stage. 40 Hz refers to a frequency of 40 cycles per second. When your neurons synchronize at this rhythm, it's like they're all humming together at 40 beats per second. If that sounds fast, it is. Imagine a hummingbird flapping its wings, which happens about 40 to 50 times per second. That's the kind of rapid beat we're dealing with, but in electrical bursts of neural activity. Why 40 Hz? Gamma waves in the brain have long been linked to higher order cognitive functions. When you concentrate hard, solve a problem, or try to recall a memory, studies show an increase in gamma activity as different brain regions communicate in synchrony. Think of gamma as the conductor of an orchestra, ensuring multiple brain areas stay in tempo during mentally demanding tasks. Scientists began wondering, could boosting gamma rhythms at 40 Hz improve cognitive functions or even treat neurological disorders? To boost a brain rhythm non-invasively, researchers developed an approach using external light and sound stimuli at 40 Hz. By flashing lights or playing clicking sounds at 40 beats per second, we might entrain brain activity, nudging neurons to follow that same 40 Hz beat. Think of it as giving the brain a metronome. This technique, often dubbed genus gamma entrainment using sensory stimuli, has shown remarkable results across 5 key domains. Let's explore each one. First, let's talk about cognitive enhancement and memory. Can shining a 40 Hz light or playing a 40 Hz sound actually sharpen the mind? It might sound far-fetched, but several intriguing studies suggest real benefits. In one exploratory study from 2020, participants listened to 40 Hz binaural beats in 8 sessions over 4 weeks. The researchers measured cognitive performance and memory before and after. What they found was promising. The 40 Hz group improved their cognitive scores from about 75% to 85% on average, and their memory quiz scores rose from 87% to 95%. That's roughly a 10% improvement in cognitive performance after a month of periodic gamma tuning. If you're picturing this process, think of 40 Hz stimulation as a kind of fertilizer for learning. You still need to plant the seeds and water them. That is, practice and sleep. But the growth might be a bit faster with the gamma enrichment. Let's imagine your brain's electrical activity as an idling engine. Sometimes it's in first gear, slow delta waves during deep sleep. Sometimes second gear, theta when you're drowsy. Third gear, alpha when relaxed but awake. Fourth, beta when actively thinking. and then fifth gear, gamma, when you're in high concentration or peak alertness. What scientists are doing with 40 Hz therapy is essentially trying to kick the brain into that higher gear on demand. A partner of today's podcast is Pique, spelled Pique. This holiday season, whilst everyone's chasing dopamine hits from shopping and socializing, I've been thinking about serenity as a physiological state. Pique is offering their Radiant Skin Duo, and the mechanism here caught my attention. It's an inside-out approach to skin health that ties directly to what we know about stress, inflammation, and cellular aging. The Duo pairs sun goddess matcha with something called BT fountain, a unique electrolyte. The matcha provides antioxidants that help with stress-induced inflammatory responses, whilst the BT fountain delivers minerals, ceramides, and hyaluronic acid for hydration at the cellular level. What's fascinating is how skin hydration affects connective tissue, something that impacts everything from joint health to overall comfort. My routine: I've been having the matcha mid-morning around 10:30, my usual time, and the BT fountain in the afternoon around 3 p.m. The flavor profile surprised me: bright yuzu and raspberry notes. It's delicious enough that I find myself looking forward to it, which matters for compliance. After about 2 weeks, I noticed my skin felt less tight, particularly around my eyes. Whether that's the hyaluronic acid or better hydration generally, I couldn't say definitively, but the effect is noticeable. For the holidays, Pique is offering 20% off site-wide for life, plus a complimentary exclusive holiday bundle. Visit piquelife.com/mattwalker. That's piquelife.com/mattwalker. Perhaps the most exciting area of 40 Hz research is in Alzheimer's disease. The gamma story in Alzheimer's started with a serendipitous finding in animals about a decade ago and has quickly moved into human trials. The breakthrough came from MIT in 2016. In a landmark mouse study, researchers exposed mice engineered to have Alzheimer's-like pathology to a flickering LED light at 40 Hz. Remarkably, they found that this stimulation reduced the buildup of amyloid plaques in the visual regions of the brain. These plaques are sticky protein deposits that accumulate between nerve cells and are a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. The 40 Hz flicker appeared to rally the brain's microglia. Think of these as janitors that clean up waste, such as amyloid protein, into action. It was as if the flickering light was a flashing beacon that said to the brain, "Activate cleanup mode now." Who would have imagined that something as simple as a flickering light could induce such a profound biochemical change? Following that, another study expanded the technique to combine 40 Hz light and 40 Hz sound. Mice received an hour a day of combined stimulation. The results were impressive. Less amyloid and tau pathology across the cortex, reduced neuron loss, and improved performance on memory tests. The findings were so encouraging that human trials quickly followed. In 2022, a pilot clinical trial was published that has been widely discussed. This study involved patients with early-stage Alzheimer's who received 40 Hz light and sound stimulation for 1 hour daily over 3 months. The outcomes were quite intriguing. MRI scans showed that the control group had the expected progressive brain changes of Alzheimer's, notably hippocampal atrophy and enlarged ventricles. The hippocampus is your brain's memory center, crucial for forming new memories, while ventricles are fluid-filled spaces that grow larger as brain tissue shrinks in Alzheimer's. But in the 40 Hz treated group, those changes did not occur. their brain volumes remained more stable, as if neurodegeneration was held at bay during that period. Additionally, those receiving 40 Hz had more consistent sleep patterns than the control group. What about cognition? After just 3 months, they didn't see broad changes on most memory tests, which wasn't surprising given the short duration, except for one specific test, face name association memory. The 40 Hz group did significantly better at remembering faces and names, whereas the control group showed worse performance. This is particularly meaningful since face name recall is often one of the first memory abilities to decline in early Alzheimer's. Since then, the momentum has only grown. A number of other human studies have come out or are in progress. One study used a tablet computer app that emits 40 Hz light flashes and sound tones. Patients use this at home for an hour daily over 6 months. Many showed improvements or stabilization in cognitive assessments. Some even improved their cognitive scores, and about half of the Alzheimer's patients either improved or at least did not decline. This is remarkable when you consider that Alzheimer's typically causes steady cognitive decline over time. Another approach has used transcranial alternating current stimulation at 40 Hz, a technique that delivers very mild electrical currents to the scalp to influence brain activity. A 2023 randomized controlled trial combined this with cognitive training exercises in patients with dementia. They found that 1 month of 40 Hz stimulation plus cognitive exercises significantly improved cognitive scores compared to controls. It also reduced neuropsychiatric symptoms like agitation and anxiety. So for, it must be at least a decade now, I have been an avid, probably more like rabid consumer of protein shakes. But the hard thing, honestly, in the supplement space, if you really understand and do your diligence, is this critical thing called trust. It is very hard to find a brand that you can truly trust. That's when I came across the company Puri and the really impressive founder. Even though I'm sure it makes them less profit versus other quick and loose companies, Puri takes quality more seriously than any company I've ever seen before. They have so many offerings, protein powders galore, but lots of other additions, but that's what I was focusing on here. Why did I choose them? Well, it's really for 4 specific reasons. Number 1, they are free from hormones. Number 2, they are free from GMOs. Number 3, they are free of any pesticides. And number 4, and this is the critical confidence part, every single batch is third-party tested for over 200 harmful contaminants, things like heavy metals, etc. All you have to do if you are a neurotic nerd like me, you can even scan the QRI code on the back of the product to get the third-party independent laboratory test results. That's how much trust and confidence they place in their product. By the way, if you want a recommendation, go for the dark chocolate flavored protein powder. It's just exceptional. In fact, it's wonderfully addictive. I didn't just say that. Anyway, it delivers 21 grams of protein per serving. And for folks of my podcast right now, you can save 20%. So go over to puri.com/Matt Walker, and that is spelled PUORI.com, Matt Walker. So again, that is PUORI.com/Matt Walker, and you will get 20% off your product. All of these early studies paint a very, very, very tentative picture. 40 Hz therapy may emerge as a potential non-pharmacological tool to slow down Alzheimer's progression. It's important to stress that this is not an established treatment yet. Larger and longer trials are needed and are now underway. Now, let's turn to sleep. At first, you might think 40 Hz gamma. That's a fast, waking rhythm. Why would it help with sleep quality? But here's a fascinating paradox. Short bursts of 40 Hz stimulation can lead to feeling relaxed or even sleepy. The connection comes through a chemical called adenosine. If you've heard my work before, you know adenosine is a key driver of sleep pressure. It builds up in our brain the longer we stay awake, making us sleepy, and then gets cleared out during sleep. Caffeine keeps us awake by blocking adenosine receptors in our brain. It turns out 40 Hz light stimulation may trigger a release of adenosine in the brain. In a groundbreaking 2024 study, researchers found that 40 Hz light caused an immediate surge in extracellular adenosine levels, and this increase remained for hours after the flicker. The effect was frequency specific. 40 Hz did it best. Other frequencies like 20 Hz or 80 Hz didn't have the same impact. So, what does more adenosine mean? Sleepiness. The research showed that mice exposed to 30 minutes of 40 Hz light later had longer periods of both non-REM and REM sleep. The animals fell asleep faster and slept deeper. It's as if the 40 Hz stimulation was nudging their brains into a post-flicker power nap. Most impressively, they also tested this on children with insomnia problems. Just 30 minutes of 40 Hz flickering light before bedtime helped these kids fall asleep faster, increase their total sleep time, and reduce the number of awakenings during the night. It's almost counterintuitive, a stimulant rhythm that ends up sedating through a neurochemical cascade. Think of it as a paradoxical lullaby, a rapid beat that lulls you to sleep. Few people would have predicted a decade ago that flashing lights could be a remedy for insomnia. Next, let's discuss mood and stress regulation. Mental health is intricately tied to brain rhythms, and there's emerging evidence that 40 Hz stimulation may positively affect mood. In that same small study I mentioned earlier, where participants showed cognitive improvements, they also tracked mood using a standard questionnaire. Interestingly, they found that after the series of gamma entrainment sessions, participants' mood scores improved. More gamma exposure was linked to happier mood. In clinical contexts, the dementia trial I discussed also measured mood and neuropsychiatric symptoms. After the 4-week treatment, the 40 Hz stimulated group had greater reduction in neuropsychiatric symptoms, meaning caregivers reported fewer psychological and behavioral problems like anxiety, depression, and irritability. And for depression specifically, all symptoms improved significantly from pre to post-treatment in the 40 Hz group. What could be the mechanism? One possibility involves the brain's emotional regulation hubs in the prefrontal cortex, the most evolved part of our brain that sits right behind your forehead. Gamma oscillations might improve the connectivity and function of these frontal lobe networks that keep emotions in check. It's like a mini brain exercise that leaves those networks humming more efficiently afterwards, potentially translating to a person feeling more centered and less stressed. I spend an inordinate amount of time at a desk since I'm reading papers, writing and writing grants. So posture and comfort matter to me a great deal. This episode's sponsor, Uplift Desk, has been my absolute salvation in this regard. More specifically, their superb new Uplift V3 standing desk lets me raise or lower the surface without derailing my train of thought, which, to be honest, is really saying something. The science behind movement at work is really rather clear. Short standing intervals improve circulation, concentration, and even metabolic health. The desk itself is elegant, sturdy, and refreshingly practical. Plus, I can choose the finish and the layout so easily when configuring it online that I don't need a degree in interior design. If you'd like to move a bit more while you work like me, just visit upliftdesk.com/MattWalker and use the code MattWalker. You'll get 4 free accessories, free shipping and returns, and a 15-year warranty. Again, that's upliftdesk.com/MattWalker. Our final domain is energy and alertness. This is a two-sided coin. On one hand, 40 Hz is associated with awake, focused mental states, so one might expect it to increase alertness. On the other hand, we saw that during stimulation, some people feel drowsy because of the adenosine effect. So which is it? A pick-me-up or a chill-me-out? The answer might be both in different ways. During a 40 Hz session, some people report a trance-like relaxed state. However, after the session, or with repeated use, they may feel more mentally clear. Think of it like exercise. While you're doing it, you might feel fatigue, but later that day and on subsequent days, you have more energy and stamina. Furthermore, by improving sleep quality, 40 Hz therapy likely has secondary benefits for daytime energy. If you fall asleep faster and sleep more soundly, you're going to wake up more refreshed, with higher alertness in the morning and better sustained energy throughout the day. We can also consider how gamma relates to brain metabolism. A well-synchronized 40 Hz rhythm may optimize blood flow and oxygen use in the brain, so periodically inducing gamma could perhaps exercise the neurovascular coupling, the relationship between neural activity and blood flow, leading to better blood supply and nutrient delivery. A well-maintained brain is likely to feel less mental fatigue. As we come to the end of this episode, let's recap and consider the broader implications across multiple domains of human health: memory, Alzheimer's disease, sleep, mood, and alertness. We find converging evidence that 40 Hz stimulation can impart genuine benefits. Importantly, all this has been accomplished with non-invasive, relatively low-cost interventions: LEDs, speakers, headphones, simple electrical devices, rather than drugs or surgeries. One could envision, a decade from now, prescriptions for a 40 Hz light and sound stimulation therapy to be done at home, perhaps analogous to how we prescribe CPAP machines for sleep apnea. We should also keep our scientific skepticism. Many of the human trials so far had small sample sizes, typically fewer than 100 participants. Not all findings have been perfectly consistent. The most robust gains from 40 Hz seem to come when there is an existing impairment or deficit, like in Alzheimer's or insomnia. This makes sense. If everything is already optimal, pushing gamma may not do much. From a personal perspective, I find it poetic that a simple frequency of light and sound can potentially rescue aspects of brain function. Gamma frequency is like the brain's natural dance beat for cognition. In Alzheimer's, that dance grows faint, but by externally playing the beat at 40 Hz, we're inviting the brain to dance again. And the brain, when it dances, seems to clean up the party, clearing amyloid. Remember the steps, improving memory, and feel happier and more awake. This is truly science fiction level stuff turned science fact. But we must march forward with rigorous trials to move from suggestive evidence to proven therapy. The next few years will likely bring results from larger studies. If those confirm the cognitive benefits and disease-slowing effects of 40 Hz stimulation in Alzheimer's, it could revolutionize how we approach not only Alzheimer's, but possibly other neurological conditions as well. In conclusion, 40 Hz light and sound therapy stands at the fascinating intersection of neuroscience, bioengineering, and medicine. It's rare to find an intervention that touches so many aspects of well-being with minimal downside. And while it's not a magic bullet or a replacement for other healthy habits, it could become a powerful addition to our brain health toolkit. Thank you for listening to this special episode on 40 Hz gamma therapy. Please let me know if you like these episodes about brain science more generally. And with that, I'll say thanks for listening and bye for now.